Bankrupt? Nah. I just bought my sister's dream mansion. Family BBQs are supposed to be laid back. Burgers. Lawn chairs. People pretending to like each other for the sake of potato salad. But that Saturday in June, that was the day my sister, Natalie, decided to announce my financial funeral to 42 members of our extended family, right between grilled corn and cherry pie. She stood next to the cooler like it was a stage, red Solo cup in hand, lips curled into that performative smile she's perfected since prom queen tryouts. "Can we all just take a second to send thoughts to my sister Morgan?" she said, loud enough to cut through music and cousins yelling over cornhole. Heads turned. My fork froze halfway to my mouth. She's had a really hard time lately. You know, with the bankruptcy. A couple gasps. Someone awkwardly coughed. Uncle James actually said, "Oh no." And Natalie? She sipped her drink like she was narrating a Hallmark special. Let me rewind a bit. I'm Morgan Harper, 34, marketing strategist, raised in Vermont, calm under pressure, until that moment. Natalie is my older sister by 3 years and about 300 petty betrayals. Growing up, she always needed to be the star. If I got A+, she had an A and 3 extracurriculars. I got into Michigan. She casually got waitlisted at Yale, but made it sound like she turned them down. So when I built my own business, quietly, without social media selfies or braggy updates, she barely noticed. Until last year. That's when she started sniffing around, asking weird questions about revenue, acting extra interested in catching up. And now I knew why. She'd found out about the temporary restructuring we did. A liquidity hiccup. Not a bankruptcy. Not even close. But that didn't stop her from spinning a tale. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell, so you don't miss what happens next. It's so brave of her, Natalie continued, hand on her chest like some manic Southern belle, trying to bounce back after everything she lost. I mean, real estate, investments, her reputation. Her reputation? People looked at me like I had cancer and 3 days left. And I just sat there, smiling, calm, because what Natalie didn't know, I just closed on a house. Her dream house. Lake Prescott. 5 beds, 2 docks, wraparound porch and full panoramic views. She toured it 6 months ago, posted 17 photos on Instagram, and said, quote, "This is my destiny." I remembered. She had no clue I'd put in an offer. Through an LLC. Quietly. Privately. And I got it. Cash. She was so busy mocking my bankruptcy, she didn't realize I was the one who stole her fantasy out from under her. Later that day, she cornered me by the grill. "Morgan, I really hope you weren't embarrassed." Why would I be? I just thought people should know. You know, so they don't pressure you for donations or wedding gifts or whatever. She fake laughed. I didn't blink. Appreciate your concern. I mean, we're family. I'd never let people talk behind your back. They don't have to. You're doing it in front of me. Her smile faltered. Oh, come on. Don't be sensitive. Don't worry. I'm not. Because I had a secret. One that would land harder than any public humiliation ever could. The next morning, she texted me, "OMG Morgan, did you see Prescott Hills finally sold?" I'm devastated. I stared at my phone for a full minute before typing. Yeah, I heard. The buyer's pretty excited. No response. When people ask if Natalie and I were close growing up, I usually say we were. Parallel. We shared a house, not a connection. Natalie was the girl everyone saw. Blonde, ambitious, cheer captain. She knew how to light up a room and how to make sure I stayed in its shadows. I was the quieter one. Book in hand. Ponytail always crooked. Never wanted center stage, but never wanted to be invisible either. With Natalie around, though, invisibility was the default. She wasn't a monster. Not outright. Her sabotage was subtle, polished, weaponized under a smile. Like the time I got a summer internship with a local magazine when I was 16, my first big win. She waited 3 days, then told our mom at dinner that I only got it because the editor felt sorry for how plain Morgan dresses. Mom laughed. Dad didn't say anything. And I sat there, swallowing the lump in my throat like it was dessert. That was Natalie's real talent, saying just enough to sting, but never enough to be confronted. Even in adulthood, she kept that skill honed like a blade. When I launched my own marketing firm, she was so proud, until she found out I hadn't taken out a loan to do it. Wow, she said. Must be nice to have help from Daddy. She knew our father died when I was 19. She knew I built every inch of my business on freelance hours and no sleep. But Natalie didn't care about facts. She cared about perception. And perception was her playground. It wasn't until a year ago that I really began to notice the shift. That's when I got featured in American Business Weekly for helping a niche skincare brand go viral. It was a small profile. Nothing fancy. But Natalie read it cover to cover. "They quoted you?" she asked. "Yeah, but you didn't even major in marketing." "I've been working in it for 10 years. She nodded, then immediately changed the subject to her upcoming trip to Lake Prescott. "There's this house there," she said. "It's like something out of Nancy Meyer's dreams. Wraparound porch. A reading nook in every room." She even showed me photos. I smiled, nodded, and made a mental note. Not because I wanted to compete, but because something about the way she claimed that house, like she was owed it, got under my skin. Fast forward 6 months. My business had a cash flow dip, nothing dramatic. A few late client payments. Some tight quarters. We shifted some lines. Reallocated funds. The kind of thing every small business owner goes through. But I was cautious. Always have been. So I consulted a financial planner, explored backup options, including what I now know was my mistake, printing a document labeled Business Contingency Filing. I left it in a desk drawer. At my vacation rental. The same one Natalie stayed at for 2 nights when she needed to get out of the city and recharge. I had no idea she'd rummaged through my office space. Not until the day of that barbecue, when she said the word bankruptcy with such confidence, as if it had been officially filed. She must have read the document and assumed the worst. Or she didn't assume. She just wanted the worst. What she didn't realize was that by the time she was building that narrative, I was already rebuilding the truth. Quietly. Through an LLC, I submitted the offer on the Prescott house. I signed the papers on a Thursday. She told the family I was broke on a Saturday. That night, after her smug little announcement, I went back home, sat in the kitchen, and stared at my laptop screen. The photo of the house, now my house, filled the monitor. Lake glistening. Windows wide open. My name wasn't on the listing. Just the LLC, Image Creative Holdings. Her initials too, ironically. That part made me smile. Because Natalie would never think I was capable of strategy. She thought being quiet meant I was weak. She never understood the most dangerous person in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one taking notes. By the time Natalie turned me into her pity project at the family barbecue, I'd already been playing a much longer game. I hadn't planned to buy her dream house out of spite. But when the opportunity practically dropped into my lap, during a week when her comments were especially vicious, it started to feel less like revenge and more like reclamation. Of dignity, of narrative, of power. Let me explain how I pulled it off. A month before the barbecue, I found out the house she loved, the one on Lake Prescott with the porch swing and window bench she posted like it was part of her brand, was suddenly back on the market. Apparently, the previous buyers fell through. I remembered her post like it was burned into my brain. "Sue in love with this place, it hurts." Manifesting hard. She never stopped talking about that house. Bragged about how it would elevate her lifestyle blog and take her content to the next level. And yet, she didn't put in an offer. Why? Because Natalie's the kind of person who window shops life. She wants luxury, but she wants someone else to validate it before she buys it or pay for it entirely. Me? I just get it done. So I called a friend, a real estate lawyer I'd done branding work for years ago, and asked how I could make a purchase under an LLC. His answer? Totally doable, especially if you're paying cash. I wired the down payment the same day. Named the LLC MH Creative Holdings, which, as irony would have it, also matched Natalie's initials. A week later, the deal was done. I closed right before the barbecue. Had the keys in my purse the day she publicly declared I was broke. I didn't say anything that day. I just smiled. Because real power? It's quiet. It's having the receipts without needing to show them. Yet, 3 days after the barbecue, I invited her to coffee. Neutral Ground. A trendy little cafe in Montpelier. She showed up in a denim jumpsuit and Chanel earrings, clearly there to gloat. "You okay?" she asked, fake concern dripping from her voice. "Great, actually. I heard you passed on that Boston contract." Smart. Probably better to avoid overcommitting during a rebuilding phase. I stirred my coffee. Actually, I closed on something else. Her brows lifted. "Oh, a house." Pause. "Oh wow. Where?" "Prescott." I watched the gears in her brain grind. Her eyes narrowed. "Like Prescott Hills." I nodded. "You're joking." "Nope." "Which house?" I pulled out my phone, scrolled to a photo of the porch swing, and placed it on the table. Her breath caught. "That's mine." It was. She stared, blinking. "You bought my dream house. You never made an offer. You knew I wanted that house. I also knew you told half the county I was bankrupt." Silence. That silence. It was better than applause. She didn't even finish her latte. Stormed out like a soap opera villain in heels that cost more than my mortgage. And I sat there, sipping, heart pounding, not with regret, but with adrenaline. Because I didn't just buy a house. I bought back my peace. But Natalie? She wasn't done. The next morning, I got a text from an unknown number. Hope you enjoy the porch swing. Just know karma is fast. Followed by a smiley face. No name. No context. But I didn't need one. Natalie had always been predictable. What she didn't understand was that I was no longer playing defense. 2 weeks later, I held a small housewarming. Just a few close friends. Wine. Cheese. A Spotify playlist titled Victory Vibes. At one point, a guest walked in and said, "You know this place is all over Natalie's blog? She literally posted it 6 times last month." I nodded. Yeah, I'm aware. She called it her spiritual home. Fascinating. Then he added something that made me freeze. Apparently, she was planning to shoot her personal brand relaunch here. Already had a photographer booked. I couldn't stop the smile. It spread slow. Satisfying. Natalie wanted the house to project an image. I bought it to build a life. Big difference. The fallout came fast. Her next blog post? Full of vague shade. Some people thrive on betrayal. Others just move forward with grace. I choose peace. Followed by a photo of her in front of a white backdrop, holding a mug that said, "Let that sh*T go." But in her eyes, you could see it. Rage. Confusion. Embarrassment. Because she didn't just lose a house. She lost control of the story. I didn't expect her to show up uninvited. But then again, this was Natalie we were talking about. 2 weeks after the coffee shop ambush, after I'd quietly moved into her dream home, she pulled into my driveway like she owned the place. Still driving that silver Audi she never stopped bragging about. The one she leased but told people she bought outright. I was out on the porch, laptop in my lap, coffee in hand, finally enjoying a moment of silence. Then I saw her. Sunglasses, perfect blowout, and a look like she'd been rehearsing what she was going to say for days. "Morgan," she said, stepping out of the car, "we need to talk." I leaned back in my chair. "Didn't realize you scheduled a tour." Her mouth tightened. "Funny. Wasn't a joke. Can I come in?" I stared at her, then nodded. "Sure. But leave your shade at the door." Inside, she didn't say a word for the first full minute. Just stood there, in the living room she once gushed over online, looking like she wanted to cry but refused to blink. "This was supposed to be mine," she finally whispered. "You never made an offer." "Because I was saving." "So was I. You knew I loved this place. I knew you posted about loving it. I didn't see you taking steps to actually own it." She turned to face me fully. "That doesn't mean you had to take it from me." That's when I snapped. "Take it from you? Natalie, this isn't a dollhouse. You don't get dibs on real estate like it's a piece of gum in middle school. You announced to our family that I was bankrupt. You made me out to be some sad charity case, all while I was quietly getting my life together. I didn't mean it like that." "How did you mean it?" Silence. Then finally, her voice cracked. "You've always been the quiet one. The one nobody paid attention to. I didn't think it'd matter." Oof. There it was. The truth, messy and raw. I set my coffee down. "So you did it because..." "What? You didn't think I'd fight back?" She nodded, small, ashamed. "I thought you'd just take it. Like always." I shook my head. "Not anymore." She sat down on the edge of the couch, like her legs had given up. "I don't even know who you were anymore. You never knew who I was. You only ever saw the version of me that made you feel superior. That's not fair, isn't it?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. Tears welled up in her eyes. "You made me look like a joke. You did that yourself." "Morgan," I was scared. Now it was my turn to blink. Of what? Of becoming irrelevant. Of everyone realizing that I've been faking it for years. That your business is thriving and mine's barely paying the bills. That you're building something real while I've been posting filtered lies. She was crying now. Not dramatic tears. Real ones. The kind that hit when the performance ends and there's nothing left but the truth. I didn't gloat. Didn't smirk. I just handed her a tissue. "Why didn't you just tell me?" "Because you always seemed so put together. And I didn't know how to ask for help without making it look like pity." We sat in silence for a while. Then she looked around the room. "You decorated this exactly how I imagined. Because I liked your vision." She laughed, weak, but real. "You stole it well." "I didn't steal it. I finished what you started." Then she said something I never expected. "I'm sorry. For the barbecue. For the texts. For all of it." I nodded. "Thanks. You're not going to hit me with a too little too late?" "No. Because for once, you actually meant it." She looked at the floor. "I don't know how to fix things. Start by telling the truth. To the family? To yourself. We didn't hug. We're not those kinds of sisters. But when she left, she turned back and said, "It's a beautiful house, Morgan. I hope it feels like home." It already does. 2 weeks later, we were back at the Harper house. A different kind of gathering this time, smaller, quieter. Just a few aunts, uncles, cousins, and Mom, who insisted we celebrate Uncle Jimmy's 68th like it was a national holiday. "You both better be there," she said on the phone. I'm not picking sides. That last part? Definitely aimed at Natalie and me. Because the fallout from her public barbecue stunt had left cracks all over the family tree. Some people stopped talking to her. Others side-eyed me like I'd rubbed it in her face. Nobody had the full story. Yet, when I arrived at the house, Natalie was already there. Hair pulled back. No makeup. And her usual confidence? Nowhere to be found. I nodded at her. She gave me a small, nervous smile. We hadn't talked since our porch showdown. No texts. No calls. I figured she needed time. But I had no clue what she was about to do next. Midway through dinner, halfway between Uncle Jimmy's third beer and Grandma's second complaint about kids these days, Natalie stood up, cleared her throat. "Hey everyone," she said, voice louder than usual. "Can I say something real quick?" Chatter died. All eyes turned to her. Even mine. "I owe Morgan an apology." Pause. "Actually, I owe all of you the truth. You could have heard a fork drop. A few weeks ago, at the barbecue, I said Morgan went bankrupt. That wasn't true. Not even close." People shifted uncomfortably. "The truth is, I found a document in her stuff, something I shouldn't have been snooping through, and assumed the worst. I turned that assumption into a story and made it public because, well, I didn't want anyone seeing how far I'd fallen. Morgan didn't deserve that. She was doing what she always does, keeping things to herself, handling business, protecting her peace. And I blew it." Aunt Carla murmured, "Oh wow." Natalie wasn't done. "Also, the house on Prescott Lake? The one I cried about losing for 2 months? Yeah, Morgan owns it. And she didn't steal it from me. She earned it. Paid in cash. Because she's been working her ass off while I've been posting selfies. She didn't flaunt it. She didn't humiliate me. I did that all on my own." She looked at me, eyes glassy. "I'm sorry." And just like that, she sat down. Silence. Then Grandma, bless her, clapped once. Just one dry clap. "Well, damn," she said. "Guess that's settled." Aunt Carla smiled and passed Natalie the potato salad like it was a peace offering. Mom reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Proud of you both," she whispered. "And me?" I breathed for the first time in weeks. After dinner, I stepped out onto the porch. Natalie joined me. We didn't speak for a minute. Just watched the sky shift orange. "You didn't have to do that," I finally said. "Yes, I did. You're gonna get a ton of messages tomorrow. Some will be nice. Some won't." She shrugged. "I can handle it. I've handled worse." Pause. "I don't want us to go back to what we were." I looked at her. "What do you want instead?" "Something real. Messy. Honest." I nodded. "Sounds exhausting." She laughed. "It will be." Then added, "But I'll bring wine." That night, I got a message from our cousin Alan. Didn't think Natalie had it in her. "Guess people can surprise you." And another from Aunt Carla. "You two are my new favorite soap opera, but way better dressed." And finally, one from Natalie. "Thanks for not throwing me under the bus, even when I deserved it." I replied, "You drove it yourself. I just waited for you to stop." It's funny how a place can change everything. 6 months had passed since Natalie came clean to the family. 6 months since the house on Lake Prescott stopped being just a trophy and became something else entirely. A quiet kind of freedom. The house never felt like revenge after that day. It felt earned. It felt like my name on something that couldn't be edited, erased, or overshadowed. And that was worth more than Natalie's apology or anyone's approval. We weren't best friends overnight. That's not how sisters work. But things shifted in small, real ways. It started with texts that weren't fake nice or backhanded. Just thinking of you. Or, do you still have that podcast link? And once, this one caught me off guard. She sent me a TikTok of a cat pushing a laptop off a table and captioned it, "You, when I touched your financial documents." I laughed so hard I choked on my tea. I replied, "Blocked." She sent 3 laughing emojis. And we moved on. Eventually, we started doing monthly brunches. No agendas. No filters. No pretending. Sometimes we fought about dumb things, about old things, about who Mom definitely loved more. But for the first time in decades, it felt like we were finally sisters and not competitors. One weekend in April, she came to visit the lake house. This time, I invited her. And this time, she didn't bring a bottle of Chardonnay and a camera crew. She brought sweatpants. No makeup. and a bottle of Malbec she actually paid for. We sat on the porch with blankets wrapped around our legs and talked until the moon crept up over the trees. I get why you did it, she said. Why you bought the house. Yeah, because if I had your grit, I would have done the same thing. I turned to her. You do have grit. You just used it to build a brand instead of a life. She winced, but nodded. Fair. You gonna rebuild? She shrugged. Already am. New job. Different field. Not chasing followers anymore. Just stability. You think you'll ever stop craving the spotlight? She smiled. I think. I just want to be someone people can actually trust. Not just someone they follow. That was the most honest thing I'd ever heard her say. A few weeks later, she sent me a link to her new project. A consulting firm, small, local, real. No filters. No buzzwords. Just Natalie, the real version. And in the About section, she wrote this. Sometimes, you only find your voice after learning to listen to someone else's. I sat back in my chair and exhaled. Because maybe, just maybe, she'd finally heard me. That summer, we hosted a family barbecue. Full circle. This time, at my house. She helped me plan it. Didn't demand attention. Didn't try to outshine anyone. At one point, she stood up with a plate of grilled veggies and tapped her fork on the edge of a cooler. Everyone froze, half expecting another ambush. Relax, she laughed. I'm not here to start anything. Just wanted to say thanks to Morgan for letting us all crash her beautiful home. And for the record, I'm just the co-host. That got a laugh. And maybe a tear or two. Especially from Mom. As the sun set, Natalie and I sat on the dock. Toes in the water. Just quiet. Not tense quiet. Not passive-aggressive quiet. Real quiet. The kind that means you said what needed to be said, and now you're just soaking in the peace. She looked at the horizon and asked, still worth it? I knew what she meant. All of it. The drama. The house. The long road to this dock. I smiled. Every damn inch. Final reflections. I didn't buy the house to prove I was better. I bought it to prove I belonged. And once I stopped needing Natalie's approval, I got something better. Her respect. Ours wasn't a clean story. It had bruises. It had silence. It had more chapters than I ever wanted to write. But in the end, we closed the book together. Not with fireworks, but with peace. And maybe that's the best kind of ending. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it too. Also, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? What city and country? And have you, or someone you know, ever been through something like this?